Hi guys, this is Emily again, and today I want to talk about a few weird things I've been talking about in my videos lately, but I've failed to explain in case you don't know what I'm talking about. So, 80-10-10, Raw Till 4, Banana Girl Diet, Starch Solution. These are a few of the things I've been mentioning, and they all refer to a certain way of eating, and they all refer to a vegan diet. So, all of these diets are made for people who really just want to live a healthy lifestyle, for people who want to avoid diabetes, heart disease, maybe even cancer and autoimmune disorders. You should really look into these diets. So they're all based off of going vegan. And as you've probably watched in my earlier videos, I'm having my own struggles with becoming a vegan. But I would like, for people who don't know what these diets are, it might be beneficial to you to understand a little bit about them, so you can understand what I'm doing, and maybe you can incorporate some of the aspects of the diets into your own personal diet, and you can see some great results. So, the first that I'm going to cover is the 80-10-10 diet, and I will be brief on these different descriptions. So, 80-10-10 diet is a book by Dr. Graham, Douglas Graham, and I read this book several months ago, and it is the first, let's see, keep covering up the name. Okay, it is the first vegan book that I've ever read. And this book is all about eating a completely 100% raw diet, pretty much 100% of the time. Dr. Graham recommends eating mostly fruit, and then you also eat vegetables. And he explains why. He actually, if you read his book, which I have, I actually intend to read this book again and then do a review on it. But he just started eating a fruit diet on his own one day and found that he really liked it. It gave him a lot of really good results, athletic results, and health results. And this is a very healthy diet. Some people use this diet as simply a cleanse. They might do it for a few weeks or a few months or a few years, and then they go back to eating, whatever diet they were eating before. So this is a completely 100% raw food diet. You're really not supposed to eat any cooked food. And so if you want to learn more about 80-10-10, read this book, or you can also Google it to find out more information about it. Let's see, what else could I tell you about this? Balancing your health, your weight, and your life. Yeah, so 80-10-10, the cool thing about this is if you stick with it, it sounds like most people, they end up at their optimal weight. What happens is you get on this completely raw diet, focusing on fruit, and most of your calories coming from fruit, and then of course you're eating vegetables as well, that your weight will stabilize itself. So if you're underweight, you will gain till you're at a normal weight. If you're overweight, you will lose until you're at your optimal weight. And the cool thing about this diet is that I've gone off and on of this diet over the past year, and I've noticed that I feel wonderful when I do this correctly, as outlined in the book. I do feel really great. You have so much energy on this diet. Forget coffee. You never need coffee ever again, in my opinion. If you do this, you have tons of energy. If you're trying to get energy in order to sustain a life where you work and then on top of that you're exercising, you need a lot of energy for that, to sustain that lifestyle, and this diet will give you that, what you're looking for. So I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying this might be a good option for you if you're looking to have a lot of energy. So the next thing I've been talking about is Raw Till 4. And Raw Till 4 is a diet that's based off of 80-10-10. And, oh, I should mention, 80-10-10. What is this referring to? 80% carbohydrates, 10% protein, 10% fat. So it's a ratio, a macronutrient ratio. So you're getting 80% of your food is from carbohydrates, 10% is from protein, and 10% is from fat. And if you look into the research, which if you read the China study, which is another book, that's where a lot of the research has been done on this ratio and why. It explains more about why this ratio is recommended for optimal health. And so I also recommend reading 80-10-10. As soon as you're finished with this, read 80-10-10. Or sorry, read the China study and then read this. And so Raw Till 4 is more of like what I follow. It's a wonderful diet made by the people of 30bananasaday.com, and there's also a banana diet. And so the Raw Till 4 is the same thing as 80-10-10, except you are eating raw food until 4 p.m. and then after that you take a break from eating, and then you eat dinner that is a cooked meal. It doesn't have to be raw. You can eat cooked or raw, but it has to be a carbohydrate rich food. So you're going to eat like a salad, and then you're going to have rice and steamed veggies, or pasta with a low-fat, low-sodium sauce. There's so many things you can have. But potatoes, you're allowed to have white potatoes on Raw Till 4. Sweet potatoes, whatever you want. And there are people who really thrive on that diet as well. But it's based off of 80-10-10. And then there's also the banana diet, which is also based off of 80-10-10. But there's a focus on eating lots of bananas because bananas are rich in calories, more so than a lot of other fruits, and you can store them easier than some other fruits. So it just makes it a little bit easier, in their opinion, if you do the banana girl diet and you 30 bananas a day diet, and they promote eating 30 bananas every day. So it sounds crazy at first, but once you learn more about it, it's not that crazy. So, but that 30 bananas a day, the banana diet is a raw diet. The Raw Till 4 incorporates some cooked foods. So it's very, very healthy. Both of them are very healthy. They promote cutting out the salt out of your diet, oils out of your diet. Do your research on oils if you haven't. Consuming oil is not natural, and you got to really be careful if you're eating oils and you want to avoid heart disease and other things. You need to be careful with that. And it's also the people at Gerson Therapy have found that oils can grow tumors. So Gerson Therapy is a therapy for cancer patients, and they tell their cancer patients to stop eating oil completely because oil can start the growth of a tumor again. So, okay, so the final one is the Starch Solution by Dr. McDougall. And eat the foods you love, regain your health, and lose the weight for good. So that's another thing about these vegan, starch, and high carb diets. They are high carb, low fat. You can't really mix a high fat diet with a high carb diet. They don't go well together. So if you want to be healthy This is another book that is really good. It's all about eating potatoes. Can you see that? And other starches. And it's a really good book as well. And the fact is, carbohydrates are good for you. So this is a cooked starch diet. So you're going to be eating cooked potatoes, pastas, different root vegetables. What else do they eat? Oats. Like, you can have oatmeal on this diet. So I'm not going to say if one's better than the other, because I am not an expert. I have not tried every single diet and gone on it for years at a time. So I really cannot claim to know if one's better than the other one. But I can tell you that from what I've researched, they're all really healthy diets. And unfortunately, in America, we think that low carb is the way to go. High protein, low carb. But the fact of the matter is, when you start increasing your protein, it usually means you're going to increase your fat. And if you're increasing your fat to dangerous levels, guess what? Heart disease and diabetes are just around the corner. And I want to avoid that, don't you? So if you're interested, if you think I'm crazy, read these books, or, do your research. Look into clinical studies. There's a lot of research out there. Dr. McDougall, who wrote the Starch Solution, he has a great website, and I think it's just starchsolution.com. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But he is awesome, and he has been keeping up with research, and well, they all seem to, actually. But anyway, sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. So I hope I didn't leave anything out, but in short, what I'm doing is I eat a high carb, low protein, low fat diet for optimal health. I know it sounds crazy, but I have tried high protein diets, and they make me feel terrible, and I'm never able to stick to them. And I never lose weight on them unless I really starve myself, and I'm not willing to hurt myself and cause more metabolic damage by starving myself anymore. So I'm on these high carb diets, okay? Our bodies need carbon, and we get them from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Our cells live off of glucose. So does our brain. Our brain needs carbon and glucose and a little bit of fat, And we don't need the amount of protein that we're told that we do. And so we need for optimal brain function and for optimal cell function, we need these carbohydrates. And I'm done starving myself of carbohydrates. So what I want to say is, people have asked me, Emilie, why don't you try paleo? Or why don't you just go gluten-free? And it's funny. It's not funny, actually. But I know several people that do gluten-free, and I know several people that do paleo. And well, that's all fine and wonderful for them if they're liking it, but there's no way I could stick to a diet like that. And here's why. Because when I first heard about paleo, I thought, maybe I should try that. But I waited, and I saw that it doesn't give you a healthy result. It may help initially, but from what I've observed, it doesn't give you the health and vitality that I'm starting to really feel. The minute I started doing the smoothies, the carbohydrate rich smoothies, I knew I immediately started to feel better. And it's only gotten better. My energy level just soars when I make sure to get all the nutrients that my body needs and all the carbohydrates. And then, yes, you do need some fat and protein. But I focus on the carbohydrates because I'm realizing how wonderful they make me feel as long as they are true carbohydrates. Because a muffin and a cake and a cookie, those are not true carbohydrates. They're carbohydrates mixed with fat. And you can't mix the two. It will put weight on you. You have to kind of choose. High fat or high carb? High fat, from what I've experienced, made me feel very lethargic. I used to have to take naps all the time. Back when I was trying to do a low carb, or back when I was eating things like cakes and cookies, I never had energy doing either of those. I always felt lethargic, run down, and I had sleep issues and all kinds of just sluggish feelings. And I don't feel that way anymore. On high carb, I feel like a nap? Who needs a nap? Unless for some reason I get sleep deprived, but that's a whole different issue. That's not the diet's fault. So, no, I'm never going to do paleo. My husband and I have talked about it, and we chose to skip over the paleo thing because there are so many people it's just not working out for. And I truly just don't believe that eating, what do they eat, like a pound of meat at each meal or something? I just don't think that's healthy, okay? I just don't think it's healthy. And that's just my opinion. And you don't have to believe me. You don't have to like what I have to say. And then gluten-free, 80-10-10 is a gluten-free diet. And you can make the Starch Solution, you can make that gluten-free. On Starch Solution, just don't eat bread and pasta, and then it's gluten-free. And then, oats, you have to get gluten-free oats. And then on Raw 4, they don't promote oats or bread, but they do say you can have pasta, but they recommend not wheat pasta. They really are recommending things like corn pasta. If you want that, you don't have to eat that. So, you can have gluten-free pasta. You don't have to get wheat pasta. And in fact, they do recommend getting a gluten-free. So, they can be gluten-free diets if you want them to. And I've just inadvertently gone gluten-free for several weeks at a time here and there. And what I've noticed is that when I do eat wheat again, I do not notice any negative ramifications. What I do notice is when I slip up and I have dairy, I have severe ramifications. I get terrible stomach aches and digestion problems, and I usually wind up either getting a cold or seasonal allergy-like symptoms every time I eat dairy. And I haven't had meat because I don't feel the need to, and I'm never tempted by meat. So, dairy is the worst thing. And if I can promote anything, if you who cares about the diets? If you don't want to do the diets, don't do them, But if I can just leave you with this, cut out the dairy. The dairy is the worst thing you can do for your body. And I know that every time I go back to eating dairy, earlier last year, I would slip up a lot. And I'd go back to eating dairy. And every time I would be sick for usually a few days or maybe even a week. Just from one, like ice cream or whatever it is that tempted me, cheese, whatever. So if you do anything, I would say get off of dairy. And really, that's why I'm on these diets, because I was trying to get off of the dairy, because I knew that the dairy is what was really setting me back with my health. So, you know, follow me, watch me. We're going to do this. We're going to figure this out together. And I just know that I'm feeling so much better with what I'm doing. And if I can avoid disease, chronic illness, that would be great. So anyway, these are the diets I've been doing over the past year, and I will continue to keep doing them. And so thank you for watching.